Today, we're tackling that really baffling feeling, the one where you feel like massive change is just brewing. You sense the pressure, but, well, nothing seems to be happening on the surface. It's less like building something new and more like this huge, deep internal renovation project where the outside of the house looks exactly the same.
That's a perfect way to put it. And looking at the data we have here, that feeling, it's completely justified for this period. So our mission today is to really dive into a specific forecast for November. We need to break down the mechanics of this internal work. Basically how confronting subconscious stuff, old baggage, is likely to ripple out into your career, your money situation, and even key relationships.
Right, and what fascinates me is that the sources really promise a significant payoff eventually.
Right.
So I'm going to be focusing on those opportunities, the potential for future growth that's kind of hidden in this, well, seemingly quiet time. Intense preparation, really.
And while you're looking at the bright side, I'll be bringing us back to earth a little because, let's be honest, this isn't exactly a walk in the park. It requires a difficult balance. My focus is on the seriousness, the real difficulty of these necessary behind-the-scenes tasks. We're basically dissecting this whole thing through three big planetary influences mentioned in the source material: Mars retrograde, Jupiter, and Saturn.
Okay, let's dig in then. Starting with that pressure cooker feeling, diving into the subconscious, we're looking at Mars retrograde, right? And the source puts it in Leo, moving through the 12th house. Now, the 12th house, that's the hidden stuff, isn't it? Subconscious, dreams, secrets, things we need to let go of.
Exactly. And what's really key for you, the listener, to grasp isn't just the 12th house itself, but that specific mix. You've got Mars, the planet of action, drive, energy moving backward. It's forcing all that forward momentum inward, and it's doing this in Leo. That's the sign of self-expression, pride, ego, performance.
Wait, hang on. So the baggage we're clearing isn't just random emotional clutter. It's actually ego clutter.
Precisely. That's a great way to phrase it. The core job here is confronting the parts of your ego, your self-image, maybe your pride, that are actively sabotaging you. See, if Mars were going direct in the 12th, you might kind of push past this stuff, ignore it. But the retrograde, it forces this deep psychological dig. You have to excavate these unresolved, ego-driven feelings from the past. Like the forecast specifically points to things like identifying a work habit that doesn't serve you, one maybe rooted in needing validation, or a limiting belief about money that comes from old stories about your self-worth.
Okay, that definitely makes the work sound
Yeah.
harder. It's not just cleaning out a closet. It's more like taking apart this,
Yeah.
I don't know, deeply rooted monument to your own past limitations or something.
It's basically deep self-work. It requires the kind of energy Mars usually puts into achieving things out in the world. Think about the sheer effort needed to turn that action inward and really face, say, why you always seem to pull back just when you're nearing success. That's likely a Leo ego thing being dealt with in the very private, hidden space of the 12th house. And it applies to relationships too. If you're trying to move forward in your love life, friendships. This transit pretty much guarantees those hidden issues surface. Secrets, old wounds, unresolved stuff. It all comes up for closure, for deeper understanding.
So this is a month where the past doesn't just knock politely. It kind of barges in, demanding a full review. You can't really avoid it if you want to move forward.
Yeah.
So how does this intense internal dismantling actually show up in the real world? Paychecks, promotions. This is where people get nervous.
Understandably nervous, yeah. Because the connection, the translation, can be frustratingly slow. The advice on career based on the data is really clear. This is not the time for a big public launch or major presentations. If you've been planning some kind of premiere or a big reveal, the suggestion is actually to pull back. Focus on quiet refinement instead.
I really like the analogy the sources used here. Something like, think of yourself as a film director working really hard on a movie that's just not ready for release yet. You're editing, tweaking the script, maybe reshooting scenes, perfecting every little detail, all behind closed doors.
Exactly, which again demands enormous patience. That Leo urge to be seen, to be applauded, it has to be channeled into meticulous private prep work. Now, the analysis does assure us that this private work will pay off significantly later when Mars goes direct. But the immediate reality, it's silence. It's a lack of public validation right now.
Okay, that leads us neatly into the money situation, the money maze, as you called it. It might be tempting to just, cut expenses, look at the budget. But this transit seems to demand something deeper, looking at subconscious attitudes towards money, right?
Yes, this is where that link between the 12th house work and financial reality becomes really stark. There's a core question highlighted in the data. Do you self-sabotage when you get close to a financial goal? That's a huge psychological block. You can't just budget your way out of a pattern where achieving success actually triggers fear or these deep limiting beliefs.
So if someone finds they're always just breaking even, or they make weird spending choices right after getting paid well, the source is suggesting that's not really a math problem they need to solve. It's more like a deep subconscious fear of actually having resources.
Precisely. Uncovering that pattern, let alone dismantling it, takes real self-analysis. You have to dig down to the root of that Leo-driven fear. Maybe it's a fear that success makes you a target, or that you'll have to constantly perform at an even higher level, and you have to resolve that privately. Until that engine Mars stops working against itself, which is what retrograde in the 12th implies, then yeah, external financial progress is likely to feel sluggish, inconsistent.
The structure makes a lot of sense then. You can't build that skyscraper of future success until the psychological foundation is solid. The speed of the outside results is totally dependent on the depth and the difficulty of that quiet internal work.
And that, unfortunately, is why this month can feel a bit like running on a treadmill, you know? Immense effort, but not much visible forward movement.
But, and this is important, you're not doing this incredibly hard work completely alone in the dark, right? Let's shift focus a bit and look at the external support systems. Because while you're in the internal bunker dealing with old ghosts, the outside world is actually offering quite a bit of encouragement. The sources highlight generous Jupiter in Cancer, and it's lighting up the 11th house.
Yes, this placement is a real positive. It acts like a friendly lifeline during all that Mars retrograde intensity. The 11th house governs your friends, yes, but also larger groups, networks, your big hopes, your future aspirations. And having Jupiter, the planet of luck and expansion, sitting there and nurturing Cancer, it basically means your community is primed to support you, emotionally but practically too.
And it's not just about having coffee with friends, is it? It's about real opportunities coming through your network. The source specifically mentions things like a friend connecting you with a potential job opportunity that fits this new direction you're carving out internally. Or maybe a group project you've been quietly involved in could suddenly lead to some unexpected financial gain.
It's kind of like the universe making sure you don't lose sight of the bigger picture while you're doing that deep dive. Your dreams for the future. Jupiter is blessing them. It justifies that think big advice, even if immediate action feels stalled. And Jupiter in Cancer specifically means the support you get is likely to feel very nurturing, emotionally attuned, protective even. It's like an assurance that when you finally emerge from that 12th house fog, there'll be a welcoming community ready for your finished film, to use that earlier analogy.
Okay, that definitely helps balance out the intensity of the internal work, knowing there's external support, but every good foundation needs a solid anchor too, right? Let's talk about Saturn.
Saturn, the great teacher, the structure builder. If Jupiter is the encouraging friend, Saturn is more like the tough, demanding, but ultimately fair building inspector. It's currently in Pisces, and it's moving through your 7th house. That's the house of committed one-on-one partnerships. And this isn't a quick visit. It's a multi-year process, really pushing for maturity, realism, and seriousness in your key relationships.
The 7th house. So that's marriage, serious romantic partners, but also key business alliances, right?
Yeah.
And the data suggests Saturn is basically posing this really fundamental question. Is this relationship built to last? Are both people actually putting in the necessary responsible work? It sounds quite serious.
It is serious. And look at the sign it's in, Pisces. Pisces naturally leans towards idealism, blending boundaries, deep feelings, which can sometimes lead to avoidance or confusion in relationships. Saturn comes along and forces reality onto that idealism. It essentially says, okay, it's lovely to dream about this perfect connection, but where's the actual structure? Where are the healthy boundaries? Where's the mutual responsibility?
Ooh, that tension sounds uncomfortable. Saturn demanding solid structure in such a fluid, emotional sign like Pisces.
It demands that you apply the lessons you're learning from that internal Mars work, understanding your own blocks and patterns directly to your partnerships. The sources strongly suggest that a really solid, stable partnership, one that's perhaps forged or redefined under this Saturn pressure, that could actually be the key to stability for your career and finances going forward. You can't really succeed fully out there if your foundational relationships are shaky or built on unrealistic expectations. So the support system isn't just your wider community Jupiter, it's also deeply structural through these core partnerships, Saturn.
Right. Okay, so if we put all three of these major influences together, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, we're looking at a kind of three-pronged mission. It requires some masterful coordination, doesn't it? What's the final synthesis here? What should we leave our listener thinking about?
I think the path forward is pretty clear, if complex. First, you're clearing out those old subconscious ego blocks with Mars in the 12th. Hard work, but necessary. Second, you're simultaneously encouraged to dream up a bigger supported future, leaning on your community thanks to Jupiter in the 11th. And third, you're building, or perhaps rebuilding, truly solid, dependable, reality-tested partnerships with Saturn in the 7th. The whole forecast describes this, well, intricate dance between internal deep cleaning and external support and structure building.
So the ultimate takeaway really has to be patience. Patience combined with a deep trust in this whole process. The progress you're making right now, it isn't designed to be loud or flashy. But the sources insist it's deep, it's incredibly meaningful, it's the kind of groundwork that ensures future success is actually sustainable, not just some fluke. You have to do the quiet work.
Exactly. And maybe that leads us to the final thought for the listener. Since this path to success this month involves this blend of internal and external work, and since the most critical internal work has to happen privately where no one else can necessarily see it, we're left with a really fundamental and I think necessary question for you to ponder. How do you effectively measure and sustain your own momentum, your own sense of progress, when the results are primarily visible only to your own subconscious mind and not yet reflected in your external reality?
That really is the ultimate personal development challenge, isn't it? Defining success on your own terms before the world fully catches up. Something to explore. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you next time.